With a handful of very critical self-inflicted errors, it was the Pack that were squeezed by the Orange.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to this Saturday evening post-game live feed presented by Gametime. Head on over to Gametime if you are still in need of tickets for the remainder of this season that has become very quickly disappointing. Head on over to Gametime for all of your ticketing needs. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. We're sitting here post-game live Saturday evening. NC State loses at home to the Syracuse Orange by a score of 24-17. Critical self-inflicted errors. That is the umbrella statement that basically encapsulates what we witnessed tonight. Kenton, where do you want to start here?
Where can we start? Right? Like, I mean, there are so many different areas where we struggled, so many different things that we didn't do well, so many things that you just constantly look up at and say, wow, what is happening here? That you kind of struggle to come up with where to start. How do you lose a game when you are averaging as many yards as we put up in this game versus our yards per play? I believe we averaged about 9 yards per play or something along those lines, something crazy like that. How do you lose that game? How? Your freshman quarterback goes 17-24, 329, 2 touchdowns, and the one interception hit a pass catcher in both hands.
Yep.
A deflection off of a pass catcher dropping one that hit both hands. Where do you start? Right? Where do you start? And there are so many different things to talk about that it has to come down to coaching. It has to. Because every week we're talking about something new. Every week is something new. It's something new. It's something new. And the biggest thing that I'll say is this. When I look back at this game, yes, the officiating was terrible. Absolutely. No ifs, ands, or buts about that, right? Somehow Devin Vegas participated without a helmet, but his helmet must have flew off through osmosis or something because there was no illegal hands to the face called there. The targeting, very suspect, all that stuff. But we're not all of the illegal motions. I want to say that the tight end being covered up on that one play, the tight end was clearly in the backfield, lined up in a H-back type of situation there. And so the officiating was bad. But when I look at this game and say, what lost it for you? Grayson, what was the final score of this game?
24-17.
Okay. How many times did NC State get into their opponents 30 or deeper and come away with no points?
I think it was at least 3 times.
4.
4 times, yeah.
You get 1 missed field goal and 3 turnovers. If you get a field goal on each of those possessions, what happens, Grayson?
You get 9 points.
No. Including the one where you miss. If you get a field goal on all of those, what do you get?
It's 12 points.
Even with the 9. So even if we include the missed field goal and say all of the turnovers turn into a field goal, you win the ball game.
Right.
You win. And Lord forbid, we're not talking about touchdowns here. We're not saying that we're completely ruling out the ability to score a touchdown. And this is the biggest area of where I will say this falls squarely on the coaches. Grayson and I have said from early in this season, Hollywood is your running back one.
Yeah.
We've said that from extremely early in this season. Grayson and I have pounded the table. Hollywood is your running back one. Hollywood is your running back one. Hollywood is your running back one. Both of the turnovers came from a running back not named Hollywood Smothers. I'm sorry, the 2 turnovers that were not C.J. Bailey being hit blindside. Everything else was from a running back not named Hollywood Smothers. Not only that, Justin Jolie, touchdown catch, 1 other target that went for 13 yards. Where are his targets? Where are the plays that you're calling for him? You look at KC. When you look to get him the ball downfield, look what the hell happens. And then what do you decide after that? Well, we don't really need to go back to them anymore. It's very disappointing to see our talent used in that way. And of course, you can't let the defense off the hook, because while they played well in moments, you also needed to get off the field multiple times. And we just didn't. We just couldn't. We get them in 3rd and long and let them hit the same in-breaking intermediate routes that they hit all game. So, there's plenty of blame to go around for this one. But again, it's tough, because this just seems like one of those bad news bears, this very bad, unfortunate, no good year where everything that can go wrong does go wrong.
I will start with the defense, because all told, I thought the defense actually played well enough to win this game. We knew coming into this game, Syracuse is an air raid team, and you saw it right out of the gate. I think their first 6 or 7 plays were all pass, all quick pass at that. There's no secret that Syracuse is going to come out and throw the ball. Now, Syracuse did throw for 346 yards in this game, but they only put up 24 points. And I'll tell you something else. 21 of those points came off of turnover. That is how critical those errors were made by the offense in this game. The defense, I thought, played well enough to win the game. And so we talked about this last week when we lost to Wake Forest. It's the definition of that can't get right-itis. One game the defense does okay, the offense can't get it done. Then the offense plays okay, defense can't get it done. I thought the offense outside of the turnovers was fine, because you saw a more of a concerted effort to spread out the field. CJ Bailey, I thought, played a great game. Now, he missed a couple throws, missed a couple reads, still a freshman. I know I'm tired of saying still a freshman, because eventually he's going to have to grow up and make these plays. So that kind of is what it is. But all told, another pretty solid game from CJ Bailey. 17 of 24, 329 pass yards, and 2 touchdowns. The pick, I don't put that on CJ. If it hits you in both of your hands, you got to find a way to come down with that football. Or even if you don't, you can't afford to volleyball it up in the air and then it goes, intercepted the other way. When CJ was sacked and fumbled, I don't want to misplace blame, but I believe it was Anthony Belton completely whiffed on a block, and CJ gets destroyed and fumbles the ball. That is also not on CJ. Just, continued miscommunication amongst the offensive line and the quarterback. That stuff is going to come back and kill you. We've seen it one or two, probably 3 too many times this season. And here it comes up, it rears its ugly head again, and it costs you another turnover. The self-inflicted wounds of this game was the story. Like I already said, Syracuse scored 21 points off of 3 turnovers. They finished with 24 points in the game. There's your story.
And here's the only reason I hesitate to say the defense played well, because while it is 21, well enough, they did play well enough to win. I'll give you that. But the only reason I'm hesitant to give them credit is because even if you say, hey, 21 points off turnovers, 14 of those were a very long field.
Yeah.
It's not like there were 2 drives where, don't get me wrong, the pick, you were defending the short field. Hey, it happens. They got scholarship guys over there too. Oronde Gadsden's a freak. You live with that.
Yeah.
But the letting a team drive the field just because your offense turns it over. You got to get off the field. You've got to make those plays. You've got to be a ball player. And even beyond that, I want to say this. I walk away from this game disappointed and almost defeated, because it feels like, you talk about the can't get right-itis and all that. It feels like something worse than that, because even when things are going okay, even when you get that feeling of like, hey, we can do this, we're back, it's just something, man. It's always something. And I will say this, there are many silver linings to take away from this game. But the problem is, even those silver linings are marred with the clouds of, will we handle the silver linings appropriately?
Yeah.
which is what hurts for me. Because you get paid millions to do the job. You get paid millions, hundreds of thousands to do the job. And when I see, oh, we can't do things that are fairly basic, fairly straight ahead. When I see we're struggling with tightening up our receiver rotation, despite the fact that we see the guys who are doing it the best. When I see that we're struggling with, hey, we still need to run screens. What is our screen success percentage on the year? I would love it if somebody would look up every screen ran by NC State this year and tell me how many of them were successful, because I know it's got to be somewhere under 10 or 15%. And so I look at this and I'm stuck here saying it just feels so the same every time. Man, it's tough.
Real quick, I'll get into our first ad read before we dive in further to looking at the offense. Our first sponsor of our live post-game show is Gametime. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks, and it makes getting tickets for your favorite live events easier than ever before. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The curation of Gametime Picks helps you save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, you name it, they got it. Toggling their all-in pricing feature on the app will show your total upfront, so you receive zero surprises at checkout. And as always, you get that panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect upon arrival. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and again, create an account and use redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? You already know. It's game time. All right, middle portion here of our post-game live feed. Wanted to touch a little bit further into the offense here because this was a night where your offense put together 411 total yards. Now, I understand many of these yards were put together on probably like 2 or 3 bulk plays. You had that Hollywood Smothers play close to the end of the game. You know, what was like a short 4-yard pass ends up going for nearly the entire field. That's your RB1. And I know we've said it earlier in the season. It was a shame that he's missed the last couple games due to injury. He just has that burst. He has that flash of speed that the other two do not have. He has that pure athleticism that the other two do not have. Because truth be told, if you put both Jordan Waters or Kendrick Raphael in that same situation with Hollywood Smothers, I think Smothers is the only back that could have made that play happen. And that's the difference. I think, and Kendrick Raphael has been fine. I think he has been an effective running back. Unfortunately, Jordan Waters has not, which has been one of the most disappointing things, in my opinion, of the season thus far. But moving forward, I need to see the majority of snaps and carries for Hollywood Smothers. He gives you the best opportunity to move the ball on the ground, in my opinion. And I think many would share the same sentiment. So Hollywood Smothers, I think it was good to see him back on the field. There's tons of questions floating around when nobody saw him the last couple of weeks. He is still here, and he had a really good game tonight. So without him, I think this, the score and the yardage count must have looked a whole lot different. Noah Rodgers, another one. Now, I want to be clear about something. Noah Rodgers was out of bounds, but I'm very happy that he did, that touchdown did stay on the board for him. He's another guy, much like Justin Jolie, working his tail off for weeks on end, and it's been a shame that we have not been able to get him into the end zone, not once until tonight. So,
For sure.
probably should not have counted if you're within the rule book here. But again, some of the rules were not being enforced anyway, so I'll let that slide for that one. I was really glad to see Noah take that all the way to the house. That's a kid that has earned it as well. But yeah, real quickly before I hand it back to you, Kenton, CJ Bailey, not the reason we lost this game. He hasn't been the reason we've lost any of the games that we've lost. He's doing all you can really ask of a kid outside of being perfect in reading reads and making some of the throws. He did miss Casey a couple times tonight. I believe he missed Wesley Grimes once or twice. You take the good with the bad. This is why it's so important that a young kid gets in these games and continues to learn on the fly. These types of games will only help him moving forward. But The arm talent, man, some of the throws that he did make down the field, beautiful. There was one very early that Dakari Collins ended up dropping, but it was high lofted, hit him right between both of his hands. It was on the money. The arm talent, like we've said it from the beginning, it's there. This kid has an immense amount of talent. And if you continue to put him in these situations where he can grow and learn and build, I think that is your quarterback of the future. If everything holds, because yeah, we all know what I'm getting at here. If everything holds, that's a guy you want to build around. He has the talent and the tools that you want to surround your team with at quarterback.
Yeah, and when you talk about silver linings, again, another really good showing from the pass catchers and CJ Bailey. Another really good showing. It cannot be argued that when you look at when he has good protection, he makes good decisions. He makes really good plays happen. You could say, oh, well, he might bail out of clean pockets too much or whatever the case may be. Sure, but when he does it, does he not make a good decision?
Right.
Does he not, hey, I need to throw this ball away, or hey, I'm gonna find somebody open? So, it's just so disappointing.
Yeah.
It's just so disappointing looking at some of the things we saw. But if I'm sticking to the good here, you look at CJ playing well, you look at these pass catchers playing well, and you say to yourself, all of these guys are so young. I'm pretty sure Dakari Collins is the only one that's out after this year. I believe. So that's really, really good to see there. And this is what I mean by even the good is marred with, are we going to do it the right way going forward? Because you look at how well a lot of these guys played. You look at how well our pass catchers played, and you say to yourself, are we going to trust them? Are we going to lean on them? I think we need to be a pass-heavy team that works the intermediate game. Why do we keep trying these play-action passes that take a while to develop when we know our offensive line is not necessarily there, number one? And number two, we don't have the running game for teams to be concerned enough.
If only there was a podcast that's been asking for this for weeks now.
That's who we need to be. And it's so frustrating to me because watching Syracuse is like watching the net positive version of what I want to see. It's the version of what I want to see where, hey, this is who we are. This is how we're rocking it. Downhill, no frills. I'm sorry, not downhill, no frills. We're going to throw the ball a lot, and we're not going to really worry about the run. We'll run where we can, but we will mostly say our pass catchers and our quarterback are going to carry the mail, and that's how we're going to get it done. So, it's just even the good of that was disappointing. And another good for me, our defensive line continues to play well, man. Yeah. They continue to play well. DJ Jackson, baby, welcome back to the party.
Absolutely.
Looked phenomenal. Defensive line looked phenomenal, but we can't stop counters, which tells me again that the eye discipline of the guys playing behind the defensive line is not where it needs to be.
Right.
It's still not where it needs to be. And you would think after a quarterback counter busts for 55 on you, it's an emphasis. This is something we need to look at. It feels like we're looking at unbalanced lines like we did last year, where it's like, hey, every time we see an unbalanced line, we're going to react wrong and teams are going to get a 50, 60, 70, 80-yarder on us. It feels the exact same way with counter plays this year. And it's so confusing because this is a basic concept that we've seen time and time again.
Yeah.
And if we fit it properly, our defensive line will get there because those guys, our first team and second team defensive linemen, have shown up. Noah Potter has played out of his mind. He has played really good ball with that second unit. And so, it's just so difficult to see that we got certain units playing great and then certain units playing terribly. We get this unit playing great or this player playing great, and then the coaches don't want to play him. But it's just, it's just like, what are we doing here, man? What are we doing? This is year 12. We have to be better. We have to be better. We have to be better. And again, I'm one of those guys that's very realistic about, hey, Our budget against everybody else is whoop-de-woo, all that stuff. I get it. Our budget matches up just fine with Wake Forest and Syracuse.
Yes.
Just damn fine. So how are we losing these games at home? At home? Come on, man.
Yeah. I mean, this Syracuse, are they a decent team? Yeah. Are they a team that NC State I shouldn't say easily, very well could have beaten tonight? Absolutely, yes. Yeah. We're talking about a 7-point game in which NC State shot themselves in one foot twice and the other one once, 3 times tonight. And the difference was just 7 points. Regardless of how poorly you played, it was still that close. But when you beat yourself over and over and over, and you make those critical mistakes on their side of the field, when you are in plus territory, you cannot expect the other team to just keep giving you chances to win that football game. Good teams, like I think Syracuse, I'll call them a good team. I think they're an okay team. They're fine. They will put you away when you hand the game to them in that fashion. They will put you away.
Yeah.
Their playmakers, credit to them. They have great pass catchers. Their running back / hybrid wide receiver guy, LaQuint Allen, there's a reason that he's one of the most talented all-purpose backs in the ACC. He's really good. And, not to backpedal here, but talking about the eye discipline and the linebacking play, it's been poor all year. It certainly hurts when you lose Caden Fordham before the game as well. Best wishes to him, speedy recovery for his injury. But when you lose your Mike linebacker before a game like this, tough to recover from. There's just too much inexperience, not enough plays being made and finished on the field. And you cannot give teams like Syracuse more opportunities to do so. When you're looking at, third down conversions in this game, and I know that was a highly contested point over the course of this week. Syracuse was 8 of 15. That's too much. That is too many conversions. They only went for it once or 3 times on 4th down. They converted one of those. NC State, conversely, 1 of 6 on 3rd down. Not going to cut it. Not going to cut it. If your offense can't stay on the field and your defense can't get off of the field, you get results like you got tonight and like you saw last week against Wake Forest. Until that gets cleaned up, you're going to continue to struggle against good teams in the ACC. Or maybe not even good teams in the ACC. Teams that are competent enough to take advantage of your mistakes and beat you. That has happened the last 2 weeks.
Everybody's competent enough to beat you when you beat yourself.
Exactly.
Everybody. There won't be, and this is why I don't care what fans get mad at me. I don't care what fans of other teams say, oh, you're taking away credit from our team. I have said before the season, and I still stand by, there were 2 teams on the schedule. You play your best ball, they still might win that football game. There were 2. And I still stand by that. If you ride Hollywood as, hey, this is RB1. This is RB1. Everybody else is going to rotate in based on where we can get you in around him.
Yeah.
You don't see that fumble. You don't see that drop that pops up and is then an interception.
Right.
And the biggest thing that I want to really get into, and I understand the refs were not good tonight. How do we have that many procedural penalties in terms of lining up, in terms of motioning, and granted, I understand one of them was absolutely terrible. The tight end was off the line of scrimmage and was called covered up for some reason. It was the oddest thing I'd ever seen. But with that being said, how do you have that many procedural penalties in one football game?
Yeah, the thing is you're still doing that in week 7. You're still having undisciplined lining up on the football in week 7. You cannot expect to deem yourself as a good football team or a competent football team when you do things like that in week 7. Week 7. How does that happen? How does that happen? That continues to boggle the mind.
Your guess is as good as mine, man. It's so, at this point, it's no longer a bug in the system. It's a feature.
Correct.
It's just the reality, and to see this, again, it's just a disappointing result. You know what I mean? 2 weeks in a row, games that are winnable, games that are there for you, games where teams want to give it to you, and you just say, oh, no. I don't really feel like it. You take it.
Yeah. Second ad read of our post-game live before we give our final thoughts. I want to dive further into the defense as well. That is FanDuel. NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. When you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the very same page that you're placing your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place just your first $5 bet. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started. All right, last couple minutes here of our Saturday night post-game live. Really appreciate all of y'all still hanging out with us. I know it's late on the East Coast, and we're having to struggle through another one of these heartbreaking losses. The defense earlier. Now, what I said was I thought that they played well enough to win this game, and I still believe that to be true. There's a comment, I believe it was from Tim. My apologies, I had it loaded. Basically, his question or his comment was, how do we continue to get beat by slants the entire night? To be honest with you, I didn't have that much of a problem with that because they were keeping the play in front of them. I'll give up slants all night as long as I'm not getting beat over the top with bombs by Syracuse in an air raid offense. When you keep the play in front of you, and yes, they did dice us up with slants, but you're not allowing the big play. Those came later, unfortunately, in the form of LaQuint Allen. But the defense, I thought time and time again, they bent a little bit, but they didn't break. There was a missed field goal early in the game, another one of those missed opportunities for some, momentum. Couldn't get it done. The defense was not my biggest problem tonight. But to Kenton's point, they did allow Syracuse to drive the field more than once, and that was, another reason that the score is what it is. But
quick note on the slant thing. Those are called glance routes. So they're deeper than slants, but what they're designed to do is stress out your defense because they work on your linebackers. A glance puts the linebacker in a situation where he's going to be wrong either way. It's generally run with an RPO. If your linebacker holds his position or drops for the glance, you hand the ball off. However, if the linebacker comes into the run to actively get a run fit close to the line of scrimmage, you throw the glance. They were throwing the glance because our linebackers were coming in or they were not moving in a meaningful enough way to where the glance routes were available time and time again on the RPO looks. So just a quick note there, the glance routes were there, not slants, but their glance routes are designed to do that. They're designed to put stress on your linebackers.
Yeah. And then, touching back on the Syracuse pass catchers, I kind of had it imprinted in my mind that Aronde Gadsden was going to be a nightmare for us.
Yeah.
Wasn't all that bad. He was targeted 7 times. He caught 6 of them for 74 yards. We kept him out of the end zone. That was a guy that I had major concerns about. Can the secondary keep that guy in front of them? Most of the night they did. Even Jackson Meeks, who had the biggest game for Syracuse, 11 catches for 116 and a touchdown. This sounds crazy, but you feel like you kept him in check, so to speak. I'm okay with giving up slant routes or glance routes as long as you're not getting bombed over the top. Now, the point is we lost, and so none of that really matters right now. But the secondary, that was like the biggest challenge coming into this game for the defense. Can the secondary hold up? I thought they did okay. But when you can't force turnovers in a game because Syracuse had 0, no picks, no fumbles, it's really hard to overcome 3 of your own. And again, that is why the score is what it is.
-3 is a hell of a way to go out in terms of turnover margin. But even beyond that, I want to see, and this is something that I've stuck with and I've said time and time again, because you are right in that the defense played well enough to win this game. Offensively, run the plays that work with the players that work.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. If Hollywood has been your RB1, what are we playing around for? And I get it. He's hurt. He's not available. Okay, great. He's coming back off being hurt. He has a pitch count. Okay, great. But if Hollywood isn't available, how feasible has the running game been? How good has it been? How meaningful has it been? So at that point in time, except, hey, you know what? We just may have to figure out a way to use the quick passing game as a de facto running game and then, figure out everything from there. But again, with our offense, you cannot do, because I think back to Clemson, and now that I think about that game, on the drive where we had some momentum CJ Bailey gets blindside sack, strip fumble, we lose the ball. Was that not also in the play action?
I don't remember if it was a play action or not. No,
it was. I'm telling you, I remember that play was a play action. At some point, we have to understand ACC defenses will not acknowledge. They will not acknowledge our run game. They won't. So if they don't acknowledge the run game, guess what long play action plays do? They just expose your quarterback to a longer time that he has to hold the ball. And with all due respect, on the left side, when we've had to hold up for a long time, especially on play action, somebody's going to leak through, generally off the edge. And that's what we're looking at right now.
Yeah.
How many times does that have to hurt us? How many times does that have to kill us? Again, turnover after turnover after turnover. It's just embarrassing at a point, man. It really is.
Right. Then last point before we get y'all out of here, I wanted to save this for last in particular. We stressed all week, and in fact, for the majority of the season, spreading the field and getting the ball into the hands of your pass catchers. I'll go right down the line here. Noah Rogers, 7 targets, 4 catches for 95 yards. Now, note, one of those catches went for 75 alone. So outside of that one play that he scored on, 3 catches for 20 yards. That's not enough. Hollywood Smothers coming out of the backfield. 3 targets, 3 catches, 87 yards. One of those alone was 72. Here's where you pay attention here. KC Concepcion, 4 targets, so that is lower than it has been. 2 catches for 46 yards. Finally got the ball down the field to him. You threw him a deep ball and caught it, and you moved the field in a massive fashion. Weird. How strange. When you utilize KC beyond just the line of scrimmage, he tends to be very effective. How peculiar. Here's the biggest one of the night. Justin Jolie, 2 targets. 2 targets. One of them was caught for a touchdown. Imagine that.
And what's the average? Damn near 20 yards per target?
Per catch, it was 19.5.
But he only had 2 targets. So that's 19.5 yards per target. He rounds up to 20 yards per target. Who would have thunk it?
Weird, right? How Justin Jolie remains to be underutilized and under-targeted is malpractice at this point. It is malpractice. It is fringe incompetence. That's how bad this is. When he isn't that elite of a weapon on your offense and you repetitively do not find him, how can you expect to progress this offense? You can't. It's the definition of insanity. You get what you get when you fully believe that you can do the same thing and everything will change. Nothing will change. That is the end result.
Yeah.
Until Noah Rogers is a bigger deal in this offense, and until Justin Jolie is a bigger factor in this offense, you're going to see very similar performances to what we saw tonight.
And the crazy part is we have so many guys. I really am starting to realize I don't give a damn where the targets go. Just make sure they're downfield.
Yeah.
If you want to force the KC and you force it downfield to him, I'm okay with that. Wesley Grimes has gotten behind defenders multiple times. I'm okay with him having a bunch of targets.
Yeah.
Dakari Collins has made some plays this year. I'm okay with him having a bunch of targets. The only thing I'm not okay with, targets behind the line of scrimmage. The only thing I'm not okay with, not targeting Justin Jolie. To me, after you get Jolie his targets, Rogers his targets, Casey his targets, everybody else get in where you fit in around those 3. When you get in where you fit in around those 3, I'm okay. I would love to see them have the lion's share, but spread it out amongst those 3 and let everybody else get in where they fit in, and you will cook. Did I not say when we watched all of these recruits before they came in, I said, Keenan Jackson may be the best pure receiver out of this group.
Mm-hmm.
And look at what he's doing. Look at what he's doing. We see and we know the game well enough. Grace and I have watched the game. I've played the game. We've studied the game long enough to know. And you see the great offensive performance today because what did they accomplish? One of the keys from a couple weeks ago. Oh, just spread the ball out.
Yeah.
Just spread the ball. Stop force feeding it to one player behind the line of scrimmage. Get rid of the screens out of your lexicon. They don't work. Go to something else. And that's all I got, man. That's all I got. I'm tired. Like you said, same thing, expecting different results, definition of insanity.
Yeah. Last thing before we get out of here. Jonathan here says, is it play calling or CJ making poor reads? I seriously don't know. It's a little bit of both, but it's much heavier on the first thing. If you can't spread the ball out and get the ball and scheme your playmakers into open space repetitively because you're in game 7 now and you still can't do it effectively, it's the first thing. Now, CJ hasn't been perfect, but we're not expecting him to be perfect. He has misreads, no doubt about that. He has. But when number one here is the bigger issue and you can feel it in every single game, it's that thing. It is absolutely that thing. That'll do it for us here. Our Saturday night post-game live feed. NC State drops another ball game at home, 24-17 at the hands of the Syracuse Orange. NC State now falls to 3-4 on the season, 0-3 now in ACC play. It's unfathomable that we're talking about this in the middle of October. But this team still can't figure it out. Where do we go from here? Possibly more of the same until things get figured out. Don't know yet. But
luckily, we're playing another team that's 0-3 in conference next week in Cal.
And I'll tell you what, Cal has looked like a much tougher football team than the one in red and white. Yeah. We'll see how that goes next weekend. But until then, thank you all so much for joining us here on Saturday night. Again, I know it's late. Always thoroughly appreciate every single one of you that stayed up and stays in here with us. I know it's tough. We're all getting here through it. We got to tweet through the pain. We got to post-game live through the pain. That's what we got to do. That's the situation right now. So thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Flood the comments with all of your comments. I want to see a record high of comments because that's probably the state of the union right now. But mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll see you right back here on Monday for big picture takeaways following this loss to Syracuse. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.